Hello,
Hello.
everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to our live show. I don't think people have popped in yet, but I see that some people are here in the comments.
Kelly's
Um,
so proper. Welcome to our live show.
I
there
love
we go. Everyone popped in now. I was just trying to stall until
I love watching you stall, and I just like when I
Just
go
keep it.
live, I just keep going, and I'm like, man, they'll figure out what I'm saying eventually. And you're so nice to them.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, so here's our live show for the light of all that falls. I think let us know in the comments if you're going to be chatting along with us if you've read the book or not, and if you have read it, what you ended up rating it. And we're going to start with a non-spoiler section. So if you haven't read it, you're still safe to be here. Put this up on the screen so that it's a visual indicator until we turn it off when we're going to start jumping into spoilers. Um, but first, maybe we could just talk about our rating for this book and why some general thoughts about why we rated it that way.
Cassidy's face as you started saying that just slowly started to deteriorate. Literally,
All the way down.
Why am I first?
you were like, and we're going to talk about our non-spoiler ratings.
I gave the book 2 stars. It was actually my favorite out of the 3. I think it was the most well written. I think I definitely could see the hand that traditional publishing had in like editing and stuff. But for me personally, like if you take out the gimmicks in the story, the actual base of the story isn't very good. And because I didn't like the gimmick, it never caught my attention enough. And I was just sitting there like, okay, I want better characters. I want things to be better explained. I want all of these things. So it just was a series that really didn't work for me. But I mean, like, I do see why people love it, but I'm clouded by my hate.
This is funny. We're still going to be talking about our general thoughts, but this just made me laugh. DNF 5 pages in, was too confused and didn't care enough to continue. Fair. Also, hello to everyone here.
Bex, you're next.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I gave it 4 stars. I think I preferred the first one though. And okay, I'm trying to see which of my thoughts is not spoiler. Okay, so the first one reason. So I'm mostly remembering all the negative things, but I had a good time. I gave it 4 stars. But the first thing is which this is me to blame, only me to blame. I messed myself up by reading the second one in 24 hours because I did not remember a single thing. So I could remember book 1 really clearly, and then the details from book 2, I was like, I have no idea who this person is. I feel like I vaguely remember this name being mentioned, and which again, this was all my own fault. So like I can't really blame him too much for it, but it did impact my enjoyment. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I had a clue what was happening.
Honestly, I think book 2 could have just not existed, and it would have still made the same amount of sense.
Yeah, it was just mostly characters and like creatures and stuff. And I was like, what are you again? And then kind of like my non-spoilery like complaints would be like just the characters. It took a long time for it to feel like a conclusion because the characters were still so separate. Whereas I'm so used to like final books being like, finally it all comes together. Like so like for a long time I was like, it doesn't feel like the end because it took so long for them to get together. And then that one's a spoilery, so I can't say that. Also, oh yeah, so the other non-spoiler one is it got preachy in the middle. And I was like, I don't want to be in mass again.
I remember texting Rachel and Mel during that going, this is not fun.
Yeah, like, shut up.
And we all know how I feel about religions in books. Like, sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. But like, this is just so clearly Christianity.
Yeah, it's literally telling you that people that don't believe in God are the bad guys and we're the good guys, and it just,
Well, no, because the people that they did believe in a God, but it was the wrong God. But like, I still get your point. And yeah, I definitely want to reread this series. Is basically the bottom line. But I would like to read them like pretty close to each other because I feel like I would enjoy it a lot more that way. So yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
I can just second most of what Cassidy said. Nobody's shocked. I'm really glad that we got rid of the flashbacks. Didn't like those. I ended up giving it a 2-star. It was fine. Like, I didn't mind listening to it. I didn't absolutely hate my life, but I did not, I can't like sit here and go, okay, well, I enjoyed this and I enjoyed this. I just felt very unattached the whole time. There was nothing that I was super interested in. I wanted to get back to none of the characters that I was like rooting for. And it just was a very meh book for me.
I agree.
Yeah. So hello everyone. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. But I agree so much with what you just said, Mel, that's why I was telling them behind the scenes, like this whole morning as I was preparing for this live show, I was thinking like, do I give this a 2.5, even a 2 possibly? Like, I think I'm gonna stick with a 3, but it's a low 3 for me. And I loved the ending, but I was kind of bored by a lot of what led up to that. And for me, it was a character issue, which is funny because I tend to think of myself as a plot-driven reader, but I was just so disconnected from the characters, and I felt like none of them had distinguishing factors besides plot devices attached to each of them. And they were not dynamic, they were not interesting. Like, if you take this character and you go, like, get lunch with them. Like, can you imagine what that would be like? No, because they have no internal personality, in my opinion. And
Agreed.
so, yeah, there was just a big disconnect where I think the plot was cool throughout the book, but I was indifferent to many moments because of these characters just not feeling like real people to me. So I think I like my characters to be a bit more emotional, I guess, but not emotional in the way of meaning like sad or whatever. Just like
They needed more personality, just
yeah,
a little bit bolder.
For
I
me,
like the characters that have more life to them.
it goes back to what Mel said about book 1, where it just felt like, here's the plot points I want to hit, like an outline, and that was it. Like, we missed all of those small moments and like that made a character, which I think really makes someone connect to a story, at least for me.
Same.
And I don't think of myself as character driven, but like I still need some sort of like character to like root for.
Yeah.
But basically, any of these characters' roles could have been taken up by any other character. There was nothing distinguishing about them that made them have to be in that role. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And like, we're often just told they're friends. Like, I never felt a friendship anywhere or anything in that.
The romance, I was just like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Before we do get into spoilers, I actually have a question for everyone. Although I think we all have the exact same answer. If you liked this story, or honestly, even if you didn't, is there a book you'd recommend? And I'm pretty sure all of our answers are going to be The Rune of Kings. But if there's any other book that you'd recommend, let me know. Like, if you like,
hit me with that. I didn't have time to think.
Well, The Rune of Kings was one I said in book 1, so
you did.
I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I would agree with The Chorus of Dragons because it's done much better in my opinion, but it does have that similar, slightly not confused, but just a little convoluted. Everything kind of starts to come together in pieces. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Also, there's a thing that is in this that is also in The Course of Dragons that I can't say because it would be spoilers for The Course of Dragons. But you should read The Course of Dragons because I just finished that series and I love it.
You badly.
I couldn't think of like another book that I feel like is like a strong contender. Like the one I said in book 1, I think still is, which is The Soul's Aspect, which is indie. But I feel like The Rune of Kings is just a solid comparison to like go next.
Yeah,
I agree.
And in my opinion, it's way, way, way better.
100%. I loved The Rune of Kings.
At first, I was like resistant to that comparison because I was like, wait, but Rune of Kings is so good. But yeah, it's after like thinking about it, it does have a lot of similarities. It's just
like this like really detail orientated. Both of them are, I think. And again, something spoilery they both share.
I'm trying to think if I know what the heck you're talking about, and I'm on book 4.
I think you do at this stage. I think if you find out in Memory of Souls, the thing that I'm talking about.
You're like, I'll have to text later.
I haven't read Memory of Souls, so I can just sit here in my blissful ignorance.
Yeah, well, see, now I'm afraid of spoiling it for Cassidy if she messages me.
Yeah,
No, I think you definitely know if I.
me and spoilers were friends. I wish Rachel spoiled me the ending of this book in book 1 so that I knew what to look forward to. And
But it was wrong.
wrong ending.
It was wrong.
Finished it. Like, by the way, I made what I told you up, but like I
Her ending was better.
that was the ending. And this whole
Her
time
ending was better.
this was going to be the ending, and then
That'd be so confusing.
It was really funny.
yeah, I liked Rachel's ending a lot though, actually, compared to what we got. But
She finished book 3 and she goes, "Oops."
she's like, I don't know how I got this ending in my head.
Seems like everyone in the comments, all of you guys,
Sorry.
Hillary and Jane, everyone kind of agrees. Low 3 stars, high 3 stars, but all around 3 stars.
Yep.
No.
So in between us all.
There was a lot that needed to be cut out. A lot.
Too much. Yeah.
Yay, Sandra.
Let's just turn this into a run of games.
I know. I think if it's okay with you guys, I might jump into spoilers.
I'm trying to mute my sniffling, sorry.
You're good.
So spoilers, what do we want to talk about first?
There's something I want to talk about first
Go for it.
because I'm really proud of it.
Go, go, go.
In live show number 1, I said that when Davian, when he shapeshifted into the fella that he controlled. And I was wrong. And I was so proud of myself.
I laughed at the end.
I never guessed these things in books. I was so proud.
So maybe we could first talk about the shapeshifting and if we liked it, if we liked the twist that the shapeshifting gave us. I feel like I wanted more from the shapeshifting, although I did think it was like really cool and kind of creepy, the shapeshifting that Davian and crew had to do to get out of that prison environment, shapeshifting into monsters. That, like, when I was listening to that section, I was getting like heebie-jeebies from it, like, because I think they were explaining like the bones breaking and then him feeling so angry from being like that creature, and I was like, oh, this is actually quite creepy. But I wish we got a little bit more from it throughout the book instead of just like a plot device when it happened.
That is the biggest problem I have.
I felt like it was a gimmick.
It's just a gimmick.
It annoyed me.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't well developed in other things. It felt like it was only used when they needed it.
Yep.
Instead of like being a part of the world.
Yep.
So
it was mentioned in book 1, and
It was, but it still was just like he learns it, and then we never talk about it again. And then we need it, and so we do it. But then we don't talk about it again. But then we need it, so we do it. And then magically at the end, that was the whole thing all along, was this shape-shifting thing. And I'm like,
I called, do you remember in live show when you all were like, he's in the past? And I was like, it's a shapeshifter. And you're like, no, it's not. He went into the past. And I was like, I'm so awesome.
This is such a sick roast, Mary.
yes, but it's true.
Yes.
Memorable in any life, like damn.
But it was true though. Mousesash was like the only one that had any semblance, and that was just because he was there to explain the magic system.
Yeah, 90% of the whole trilogy. For the other here, just to catch up the whole Caden thing. There's more conflict potential, I think. Yeah, that's another thing we can talk about is like the goody two shoes characters. Like I'm remembering it because of Davian's reaction to finding out who Caden is. And he's like, I don't care, I trust my friend, and that sort of personality happens a couple of different times in the book. Like when he has a chance to leave prison, and it's for a greater good at that moment too. I forget the exact situation, but he could have left earlier and like gotten word to people who needed to get word to earlier, but instead he chose to stay back to save those other 2 people because he's like, I won't sacrifice a single person for the greater good. Like I will go back for my friends. And that just like really annoyed me the whole time. Like I wanted to see Davian struggle with these decisions a little bit more, but he felt like a robot of like, I must do the good stuff all the time, never struggle with it. Like it was just, I don't know. Did you guys feel that way about Davian's
I
character?
didn't feel that
100%.
way about him, but I felt it about other characters because I feel like pretty much all along, like Davian has had a pretty strong like. He's been like in book 1 when he like kills someone, he is like distraught over it, and so like I can understand his character being about like that, but I don't understand why some of the other characters are so chill with it, like because like we kind of get some evidence that that's just the way David is, but we don't get any evidence that the other characters should be so okay with just hanging around with Caden after all the things he's done.
It's
That's
just not
kind of where my issues come in.
anyone to be like that. Like no matter how good you are, you're gonna have moments of doubt and struggle with things. And I just feel like none of these characters did that. Like even like Asha, and like when she like leaves like the thing, she really doesn't have any feelings about anything happening there. She's like, oh, I'll go into it, cool, I'll save some people. Oh, I'll leave it, cool, I'll save some people.
Somebody else has to take my place and deal with horrible pain and suffering, but that's fine.
Yeah, she had like a moment of doubt, but I wished it was a bit bigger because she had like one line, I think, where she's like, but what if like I don't want to have someone else be struggling with this, and then the person was like, you have to trust them to be making the same decision that you made, and like this is their decision, it's not you forcing them to do it, and so like for you to feel guilt taking away their own agency and stuff like that. But like after that single like
moment, nothing
1-2 discussion, yeah, she's like, okay, true, I'm not gonna struggle about this decision then. So yeah, just like I don't know, that's where the characters all didn't feel like real people to me.
Yeah. And so many times, I don't know, it just happens a lot in this where I just like I wanted them to sit there and debate what they were doing, or like think about this, like should I trust Kaden? Like even a friend, if a friend came to me and was like, I murdered 10 people but I did it for a reason, I would sit here and be like,
what reason?
Like what? And I'd have to like think about it, and I'd have like internal struggles because like especially because like often we're told like, oh, I'm not gonna let people die for the greater good, so why are you okay with Kaden letting people die for the greater good? And like it just like I needed more of the discussions and things like that, but that's something I really look for in my books. So like I don't like goody two-shoe characters for this reason, because like I want more agency than that.
Yeah, I think this also was a little bit of an eye-opener where some people say that they hate Chosen One type characters. And I was like, is this the vibe that they get from Chosen One characters sometimes, where it's like just the ultra heroic character, where I always say I love Chosen One tropes, but I like Chosen One tropes where they're still struggling with things.
Yes.
Like I'm okay with my characters being very powerful and like finding stuff easy that other people would find hard, but I still want them to feel human the whole way through.
Yes.
With these characters, it almost felt like we were reading. Sometimes I get this vibe when I read books where there's gods as characters, when they're just like thousands of years old, and the whole point of the character is you're not supposed to be able to feel like relate to them or see them being human and stuff like that, because there's so much distance between you, the reader, and that like godlike character, where it felt like that's what was going on with these characters, but they're children, so it should not have felt that way. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, very disconnected from the characters the whole way.
Yeah, no, because like that's the other thing that I have down as like one of my big complaints was that there just felt like there was very little tension or stakes in this. And because like that's the thing is like you can write a book where you know the character is going to survive or is not going to survive, and you can still be a good enough writer to make you afraid for that character. A perfect example of it is the Farseer trilogy in mine. Like that whole, you start at that book knowing that he's telling his life story, and yet you're still scared for him the whole way through because he gets himself in some situations. Whereas in this, I just like, you're okay, I'm not supposed to die right now. Okay, but that doesn't mean you can't be hurt.
Yeah, like you go into these things where it's like a 90% chance that anyone else would die, but like I'm not supposed to die yet, so I go into it and I'm like, but things can still happen. Like bad things can happen to you, but they acted like it was just like destiny for him to be perfectly unharmed. And like also like all these bad things are supposedly happening in the world, and they don't feel sadness ever. I feel like Asha's stuck in this thing, and not once. Like Damien is supposed to be in love with her, and he just doesn't even think about her throughout the entire story.
No,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of emotion in this at all, in any capacity, really.
But yeah, for me, it's no fun reading a story where like I just know you're gonna come out unharmed. Like you don't like. I didn't necessarily need him to feel like he was gonna die. I mean, he was the chosen one. The chosen one often doesn't die. But like I'm sick of being told I can't die and nothing can happen to me.
Since we've been talking so much about characters, did you guys have a favorite character in this book, or did they all just kind of blend together?
Even Weir, who I liked in book 2, I was just like, why are you here?
There was no reason for him in this book, in my opinion. He was just like another setting to see what was happening there. And he was my favorite character across them, but even in this, didn't care.
See, I want to say Davian and Caden, but I think I like the idea of them that I've created in my head more than they actually were. Because in my head, they're very good. I like the dynamic between the two of them because like their lives are so interconnected. Very interesting. But I'm like, in reality, what's that actually like? Or am I just making the conversation in my head? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I also didn't really have a favorite character, which is funny since I asked the question, but I was just curious if you guys did or not, because Weir was my favorite in book 2 by far, with all of like the political ongoings with the, them trusting what he's saying or them not trusting, and the whole issue of getting them to believe him being like a matter of life and death, and the morality of him using that special power thing throughout. But in this book, after reading it, I got the impression, I was like, where was Weir in this book? Like, I couldn't remember any like significant moments of Weir in this book. And so then this morning when I was looking up on the Wikipedia, Weir is like he's the third most like POV, so he's close to the bottom, but he's very similar to Davian and Caden in like it's almost like I think Davian had like 30 something, Caden had 20 something, and Weir had 20 something, and Asha had like 16% or something like that. And I was like, that was not my impression at all when I was reading it. I would have guessed Weir had like 10% of the POV chapter.
Yeah, but I feel like maybe earlier in the book he had more, I think.
I have a character. I don't. It's technically L, but like the figment with Asha of like the memories that Caden had, I did like her just because she had the most like she actually said things that I felt like were like wise, like when she talks to her about like the agency of letting someone pick to be here.
That is funny because my like initial gut reaction was to say Asha, and then I was thinking about like backing up my response. I was like, I don't know why I'm saying Asha. So then I was like, oh, I have no favorite character. But I think it was Asha's interaction with Elle that was like the bright spot for Asha's character.
Yeah, I liked those.
And then flip side, did you guys have any like standout character you hated the most, or were they all kind of like equally muddied?
They were just
I think Damien for me. I had no interest in his POVs in any way. Like at least Caden, I feel like I still at some points was like, okay, something's happening, but yeah, I didn't. I mean, there were. It's like a little bit less.
Also, for everyone watching, feel free to be answering these questions in the comments if you would like to. No pressure, but if you would like to.
It's only.
Becca, did you have any like least favorite characters or no?
I don't think so.
That's good.
I will say something that annoyed me is just the treatment of like some of the side characters. Like, I'm sorry, killing someone like off page.
When the princess dies, and she
I was
died earlier on, no one even like blinked an eye.
I think I just like skimmed over it because it was not even really mentioned.
I was like, what?
I swear it happened within like one paragraph and then was never mentioned again.
Caden's supposed to be like in love with her too. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, where is this? Also, what really annoyed me is the guy who leaves and then just comes back in book 3, all powerful to help save the day.
Mhm.
The brother of the
Yeah. I was like, what was the point in this? But apparently, I was Googling it, and there is talks of like a spin-off at some point of these.
There's going to be a standalone.
I think that's why.
It
but
says it in the back.
That's so annoying to have him leave in actually leaves in book 2, but he wasn't really a big character, I feel like, and then he leaves and comes back like saving the day.
Yeah, basically in the back, because he basically says in the original outline, their story was going to be in the trilogy, but then the two of their, like the brother and sister, their story, he says, would probably be about 100,000 to 150,000 words, and this is already 280. So
Yeah,
he was like, okay, that can't happen.
I think you could have just like removed him coming in and then made it
How
more.
much of this was useless? I just don't understand why it had to be 280,000 words.
Yeah.
I felt like it wasn't. Well, I had a good time with it, so I felt like a lot of it wasn't completely useless. Because like I was highlighting a lot of things, like because like there was a lot of like small things that did like answer things. But I was like, oh, I was curious about that. So I personally like it was like maybe it was like slightly too long, but overall I actually enjoyed the length of it, and it was also a lot more enjoyable reading 200 pages a day. A lot more enjoyable, a lot more fun.
I think for me, there were so many small moments missing in the emotion and the characters. So it's like it's 280,000 words, and you didn't include any of that. What were you
It's both
doing?
too long and too short.
Yeah.
I just I stopped paying attention to like lots of the like people that Caden's going to killing off. I was like, I have no idea who you are. Like, I'm probably supposed to know from like book 2, but
Mhm.
like I truly have no idea. We were never spent time really getting to know you. We're just told like this is an enemy and Caden's struggling with what's right and what's wrong.
Caden struggles. That's just the synopsis of the whole series. Caden struggles. That should be my quote.
So this is kind of funny of Licanus, you all not in agreement like everybody in that book. Because yeah, it's like Davian says, hey, let's trust Caden, and everyone else is like, okay.
Back to Weird 2, I am confused why we spent all of book 2 trying to convince everyone just for like what happens in book 3. Like I felt like that was a very useless plot line. Because then everyone just dies and he's put on top anyways, and
we really needed the like year time jump to happen like after Weir gets back and see like the struggle of him like trying to convince everyone I didn't kill my mom.
yeah, like something like that. I just felt like it was just like, okay, now I'm a ruler, but no one still believes me the end of book 2.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
there's a handful of people that like
The end of book 2 was so intense for me too, with Weir like telling his mom to run and forcing his mom to run, and then like him realizing the implications, like he never said to stop, and so there was that moment where she was just like running like into the bad people too, because she literally couldn't stop, and I was like, that is so scary, and like I love the like intricacies of this like oath stone, I think it was called, and like how you know you have to be really careful how you say things, but then just the implications of him having that and no one trusting him because they never know when they're being influenced. And I thought we would get way more of that in this book, but really we got barely any of that, I felt like.
Yeah. We got some like really early on with him like using it to like get information and all of that. Then like as the book went on, he used it like less and less. But then again, I suppose like everyone was dying, he didn't have as many people to use it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, I was really disappointed with Weir's character because it really seemed like it was set up, because at the end of book 2, I was like, ooh, book 3 is all going to be about them thinking Weir did this and them not believing, because the whole point of the mom trying to survive was for her to go back and tell the people, hey, this is a real issue, like we should trust him. But then she died, and he didn't have like the people that they already trusted to tell them that there is a real issue. And I thought we were going to see much more of that political struggle at the beginning of book 3, but
And I guess like the border falls, so they believe him, but then like why even have that as a plot line really at the end of book 2 instead of just being like, oh, the border's gonna fall, now we're all gonna believe you. Like what it just didn't really connect with me.
Agreed.
And I thought our characters were separated. I think you said this too, Bex, for way too long in this book. Because they were the most interesting when they were together, in my opinion. And which still is not that interesting, but like I had more fun with the characters towards the end when they were all interacting with each other. And I felt like Davian was in that weird prison hell situation
for forever.
Yeah, I was surprised by how long he was in there for. But
and it was like it had one purpose. One.
And there's just like
2 purposes. I feel like I had 2 purposes. Maybe not.
I wanted more prison plot too. Like I love a prison setting, but I felt like they were just existing there, and there wasn't like. I mean, obviously, towards like the end of that, they were trying to figure out how to get out, but the prison setting itself, I felt like was kind of irrelevant. It was just they were not where they were supposed to be.
Trapped, trying to figure out how to get out, but like, yeah.
But I guess we could talk about plot moments that did work for us, maybe, because I loved the ending. I know I've been so critical about this book thus far, but I really liked the epilogue. I was like, what?
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit here quietly.
Yeah, I didn't hate the ending, but it just adds to the fact that I needed to see danger and not because like it makes you telling me like if 90% of people would die in this moment and he just like comes out unscathed because of his destiny, but then it's not actually his destiny in the end because it was always Caden. It's just like then it makes that irrelevant, and like you just were lazy instead of showing me danger and making me nervous sometimes. You just always told me I can't die yet, and it just made that all irrelevant for me, so that's what makes me not like it.
Yeah. I felt like it wasn't that shocking. It didn't bring everything as full circle as I was expecting it to. I don't know. I felt very let down by it.
No, I actually really liked it. Because I think, as I said, again, I feel like I'm putting more significance on it in my brain than actually. But like, I did really enjoy kind of like, just like the way that like Davian and Caden, like they're so connected to each other, and I enjoy that. Like, I mean, obviously it was always Caden, but like the fact that he would be okay, like kind of like nearly he's taking on Davian's destiny by like setting himself on this path. And I also, because like when I'm trying to think, because the whole like point of like it being baby Davian at the end, I actually called it like really early. But the thing, because I have it highlighted somewhere in here, but it was so funny because it wasn't actually even during the prison chapters. It was like a couple of chapters later, and I think I was in Weir's point of view, and all of a sudden I was like, I bet that's his mother. Like, and I said, as I said, it was during one of Weir's point of views, so I don't know where I got it. It just like popped into my head.
Yeah.
And I actually really enjoyed that actually was true. But also kind of sad. But whatever.
Yeah. I didn't see like it being Caden killing Caden coming for a long time until towards the end. Like I did it wasn't a big surprise when it actually happened because I figured it out like maybe 100 pages ago, but I didn't see it coming for like the whole series or anything like that. But I was actually very surprised by Davian's parents reveal being them, and he was the baby in the belly the whole time. And I was actually a little bit touched by Davian because the whole like he has mentioned a couple other times in the series that he like has never met his parents and he doesn't know anything about them, and I'm like, he was friends with his parents and he didn't even know it. But yeah, of course that doesn't save the whole book for me, which is why I was like debating lowering the rating a little bit. But because I was left with positive feelings. That's why I ended up giving it a 3. I did like the last, like, 1/3 of the book. I had a good time.
How do you feel about Caden not dying when he was stabbed by the sword? Because that made me so angry.
Yeah.
Like, the sword is meant to kill everyone like you, and then you're dying from it and you don't die, and then
kind of kill him.
Like,
Yeah, it didn't make me angry, but also like I felt no emotions.
Yeah, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
I think it's me being logic driven. I'm like, the rules are broken so many times in this book and in the series.
Convenience.
Why does everyone else die from it, but you don't get to die? And then we go.
But it was killing him at the end when he
the Davian thing too. Like, you were supposed, like, it just, I don't know, it just all.
But that's the whole point of the sword. The whole point of having the sword is to kill those types of beings, and it's like, well, then you're just breaking the rules for convenience.
Around, guys.
They say a couple times though, like, when you're stabbed, like, that's it, you're dead.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, okay, this time, like, Asha, and then it also, I think, was convenient because Asha goes into this thing for no reason, really. She's in there for like 200 pages, and then she leaves and comes out all powerful. And I'm like, what would, like, there wasn't even like a sacrifice really made from her to then she just comes out all powerful. I don't know. I hated this book. If you clearly,
I wish
2 stars. I hated it.
I know we got some like scenes of Asha's training sequences going on, but like I don't know. I wish we got way more, and I wish it was able to explain more things in the training. Because even at the end of the series, like I still don't really understand how the magic works. Like I don't get how some people are powerful and some people aren't if they're all just getting the same essence. Like, like I wish that was explained more because, yeah, I understand like the difference between the people using essence and the augurs and then the godly figures, but I just don't understand the range in power levels between all of those because we're never told how it happens to begin with.
So. I kind of just assume that it's like most things that some people are just naturally better at it.
Yeah.
I just wanted more interaction with that, I guess.
Me too.
But yeah. But also, like, cause like the thing with like Asha, like, I mean, I know that happened at the end of like book 2, but like I do kind of really wish that like, yeah, she's all powerful, but like kind of didn't really know how to use it because like with like Davian, I mean, in book 1, it's literally like one of the first things we're told about him is the fact that like he knows basically everything about essence because he's spent his whole life trying to figure out how to actually use it because he has no idea, and he's afraid to be turned into a shadow. So like that, we're told that that's his character trait. So it makes sense when he's like, in the library in the first book, just like constantly absorbing everything he can about Khan, and then like in this one, having like Caden, well, not Caden, whatever, teaching him even more. Like it makes sense because, as I said, from early on, we're always like he wants to know all that he can so he can use it. But like with Asha, we're never told that. Like she kind of takes her essence for granted. So like I don't understand why she then was spending all her time in the library. Like that just didn't make sense for me. And so, like, I kind of just wish that she was kind of, like, a bit out of control. I think that would have been a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I wanted to feel more from the characters. I wanted to feel like everything wasn't just a plot convenience to make happen what he felt like needed to happen. I just wanted to feel it more.
I wish I wasn't told that Davian had to die a million times in this book just for him to live. But
yeah.
I mean, in the end, he did technically die. Well, I mean, he was already dead.
So he's been dead all along.
That killed him. So.
Yeah, Davian surviving didn't bother me, but I agree. Like, I wish, like,
I knew he was gonna survive. This is the thing. Like, I knew it, but I was just like, you don't need to tell me every 5 seconds that he has to die then. Like, I just, your point is just like being heavy-handed here to try to get an idea behind
It was trying to get like an emotional response from us, but I was like, yeah, I get it. Move on.
I think
not successful.
Really tries to play with the idea of fate at the end. Like, I know there's a bunch of Reddit discussions on whether Caden changed fate or not, because it's like, was it always Davian, like, was it always Caden, or did he like actually change fate. For me, it was just like
Always.
not a discussion at all. Like it
Yeah.
like it
It was
needed
always
to be
him.
well developed more if you wanted it to be a discussion, because the whole book is always just about like this has to happen.
Mhm.
I didn't think that we got the other side of it, but and then in order to do that, I just like I knew that the ending was going to be some gimmick of saving.
Yeah.
If you hadn't told me it a million times, I might have been more shocked by the ending.
Yeah.
But I think kind of what annoyed me about it was like, I don't think he very clearly like had which way he wanted God to be. Well, L, whatever. Because like the Venomers, because like at one point they were saying, "Oh no, we want to be able to change fate and all this," and but then like someone else was saying, and it was like, but their side also wanted it to be like this certain way. I'm like, wait, which side?
Yeah. It just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think too, while I did like the end, I think it would have been much heavy hitting to see that Davian survived for me if we saw Davian struggle with his impending death throughout the series. Because
Yeah,
it
he's
seemed like,
so
he knows he's gonna get
Doesn't
murdered
care.
by his friend, and he's like,
greater good. I must sacrifice myself.
yeah, it's just again him being a
Again.
little bit like a robot character to me,
Again,
where
I think it's also like that 1 year time jump because like I'm sure during that 1 year he probably did struggle with it, but like we don't know. Did he? Unless he
yeah,
immediately like, that
For
sucks.
me, his
Moving on.
character never gave the like hint that he even would have struggled with it in that 1 year time jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And like Cassidy, you brought up the Reddit discussions of fate versus free will, and I think that's like a big thing in this book. And you obviously were not a fan of that part, but like,
I just don't think it was there. Like
Mhm.
I'm so confused where people get where free will comes from in this, because like the entire story is fate.
yeah,
Like it's called the Fate trilogy technically. We learn early on that like Henius means fate, and I never got any sense of free will in the story.
I agree with that.
I think for me, I get it just from like the character decisions. Like they're not guided every step of the way, so it's like a convergence of free will of their decisions along the way, ending up being like these fated endings.
I think that's
And
the difference. I don't think that that's free will then. Like if you are making decisions that you're always going to make to get to
That's
this
fate.
one thing, that's fate to me.
Mhm.
Like it's not like a
Yes,
free will
but I
could be like you know, like when there's like parallel universes and like if you made this decision it would go this way and this decision would go this way. That's free will. But
Yes, but I think that
for
is the
me that's like
conversation.
the like ending of free will, but like in like the moment of the character, like they're still making their own decisions, they're not being
Yes.
told to do like this certain thing.
They're not, though, because they're always making the decision that they know is going to lead them to that point. Like Davian is constantly saying, well, I'm fated to die, so I'm just going to go ahead and do for the greater good. And it's like, but you're not. I would have loved for him to have made a decision that was in direct opposition to what he knew he was supposed to do.
yeah, I think this also
He
made
never
it
did.
just characters in general is that like the characters just feel like cardboard cutouts making decisions to end them there, where like maybe I would have felt it more if I felt like the characters were making real decisions.
Yeah. I did get like the interpretation level, and so like yeah, Davian knows he's going to die in the end, but there's still a lot of like moments along the way where knowing his end death, like I don't think knowing his end death means that every character would have acted the same exact way throughout the story. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like, I don't know if I was in Davian's place and I knew I died at the end, like I don't know if I would have understood like what I was supposed to do along the way to get there. So that's where I see Davian's like individual interpretation of yes, he knows he dies, and so he's gonna form this plan with his friends to like figure out how to still save the world even with his fated death. But I see where you guys are coming from for sure. I think it's just a difference of interpretation. But yeah, I think the discussion of free will versus like fate could have been stronger, and I think it was a bit depressing to see, like, in my opinion, fate just like being like, yeah, fate's it. Fate's what we all bow down to.
Agreed.
Yeah, because I think that's what like because like I don't think it was like free will as like we like just kind of like make the assumption that like, oh, I can make the choice or like good or bad. I think it was more like the little things of like, can you make a small decision of free will and like still kind of like fate is still the same. Like I think that's kind of more as opposed to like you either have free will or you have fate. But like instead of like the way I kind of took it is like your fate is always going to be the same, but like how you get there, you have decisions to make along the way. That's kind of like my way that I thought of it,
It's
as
Yeah.
opposed to like it's just like
in the
two
end, if
different.
it
You
ends
either
the
have a
same,
choice or you
I
don't.
don't know. I don't know. Like it ends the same either way. Like you're not actually making choices for your ending of your life then. Like I just
Yeah.
your
I will say
journey
I
in
do also
life.
hate philosophy, so I don't like these kind of conversations.
I think that's the whole thing of fate versus free will of like, did they have free will at any point? And I think Cassidy's interpreting it as no, like it was every decision like that they made was influenced
Oh
by
yeah,
their
I also
fate
think that
influence.
I think at the end of the day, I think no, it was all fate, but I think that they thought sometimes along the way that they were making decisions, but at the end of the day, that was I think
Yeah.
the decision they were always going to make,
I
even if
feel
they
like
didn't know it at the time.
I feel
That's
like
what
there
I
was
think.
even a discussion at one point about when Davian went back to tell Asha whatever that he taught to her in book 1 from
Yeah.
book 3. And there was actually a discussion about that. Like he was always going to end up in this situation at this point to
Yes.
go back to talk to her. It was
Yes.
always going to happen. And I'm like,
So it didn't matter the choices he made along the
Yeah.
way because he was getting to that point
yeah.
that then
The
gets
book
you
one.
elsewhere. Because I would have liked to see maybe that scene then never happen, although it would have angered me with the whole like time travel loop.
Yeah.
But like that would, or like for words to have changed within that scene, or like something like that. If you're trying to argue free will versus fate,
Mhm.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm saying that it was fate. It was always
yeah,
gonna be.
Yeah.
yeah. I just wouldn't argue free will versus fate. I just don't understand that. I think it's a book about the discussions on fate. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I I thought it was kind of depressing with the whole fate thing the whole time. So, and also I I would have appreciated more conversations about the free will and how they could influence it a bit more because yeah. But I
Discussion. Like it really is. I wish it was done better.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because you brought it up earlier and I see it all the time about this series. So I was like, I did like the little discussions we got. I didn't think they were badly done. I just think they weren't done enough for me.
Fair.
But yeah, and then since you were coming up at the end, I feel like maybe overall we could just talk about if we recommend the overall series or not. I think maybe some of our answers are obvious, but I you do.
Like I think it's very particular to me for not liking it because like the gimmick of the story is something that like I think goes wrong more than it goes right for me. And if you like the idea of time travel in your stories, I would recommend it. But like,
Yeah, I think it could be recommended to certain readers.
mm-hmm. Like I knew Jade would like it. Like when she picked it up, I knew she'd like it. But I don't expect Maria to like it.
Right.
Sorry, Kate, I cut you off earlier.
No, I was just saying I kind of feel like silly saying this now, but like I feel like I wouldn't recommend this series. Like I it's hard for me to I know they're out there, but it's hard for me to envision a reader that would love this series without like just from knowing their reading taste because for me so many things were just mediocre where I'm not going to want to recommend a mediocre series to someone.
Fair.
Like the plot had some cool moments, but overall kind of boring. The characters occasionally had some cool twists and turns, like in the epilogue, but overall very flat. Like the world building wasn't that interesting. I feel like we didn't get a ton of it.
Yeah.
And then like the magic system wasn't like there at all. And so honestly, like while I acknowledge that there are lovers of this series, it's I don't think I could predict when someone is going to like it, and therefore I don't think I would recommend this series.
I think it's just the gimmick of time travel. Like that's in my review, it will say like I think it does say like if you take away that part of this book, nothing else is that great.
Mhm.
But like that part itself, I think is great for people who like it.
And Bex, would you recommend this like pretty widely or? Mhm.
I mean, not pretty widely, but
Mhm.
like in general, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I
That's
think
good.
just don't think about it too much, and don't leave it too long between books. Those are my recommendations.
Fair. A lot of people say don't leave it too long. Like I know Emma told me that 2 months a book was way too much, but
Whoops.
I'm
Yeah.
really glad I did.
Doing it 1 a month would have. Yeah. Although on the other hand, I'm like, it'd been over faster.
But Bex, you should tell Emma you loved it, so then she feels better about the book club.
Emma's never coming back.
She's like, I'm not coming to your live show. I can't listen. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Totally fair. Yeah. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Nope. Just a reminder that April's book club pick is the first book in the Powder Mage trilogy, and all of these hosts are coming back. Becca's gonna go get it.
She just sprints off screen.
I'm really hoping for a win there.
We've been told that it shouldn't suck.
Yeah.
Therefore, that's a win.
And yeah, I agree with this comment. I would recommend this if one thing was better than mid for me. I couldn't find one thing that was above that, unfortunately. That's kind of how I feel. Like I didn't hate the series. I actually enjoyed the first book, and then the other two I was giving 3 stars to, but it's just, they're so long for a 3-star outcome where I wouldn't recommend that. I don't know.
Sometimes I think hating a series is better than feeling just meh about one too. Like at least I have strong feelings about it. I feel like I can understand why someone would have strong feelings the opposite way from me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you to everyone for coming to this live show. If you missed the other 2 live shows about the other 2 books in this trilogy, they are linked in the description box below, along with everyone that is here. They are all linked below. And join us next time for Powder Mage trilogy. I'm stoked.
I'm excited for that one. It's gonna be
excited for that one. Yeah, I'm ready. The flop. The flop.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.